Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of October 1st, 2013 to order. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson, Supervisor Carroll,
Here.
Supervisor Elias,
Presente.
Supervisor Miller. Here. Chairman Valadez.
Present.
Let the record show that Supervisor Bronson is absent. All other members are present.
And I'm going to take a point of personal privilege at this point. If you'll notice, our colleague Sharon Bronson is not with us today. This weekend, sadly, she lost her husband. And so what I'd like to do is take a moment of silence, and then Father will come up and do the invocation. So Father, if you could come up, and then we'll go ahead and do a moment of silence. Everyone, please stand. And we follow by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Elias. All right, please stand quietly for a moment of silence.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty Father, eternal God, we ask you for your blessings for the Pima County Board of Supervisors, to bless them in all their dealings for the common good. And we ask you for the grace that we convert daily evermore in order to live truth in charity. We ask you to strengthen us in faith, hope, and charity. In charity, which is the queen of all virtues, and which opens our heart to you and to all those who are in need, to all our neighbors, that we embrace them in the love that Jesus Christ has shown us. We ask you in particular for the Bronson family, for your consolations, as Sherry Bronson has lost her husband, Otis, this weekend. We ask you for the graces of consolation of the Holy Spirit for their hearts, and of eternal rest for Otis. Almighty God, bless us all here and all those who have come before the Board of Supervisors. Bless all these activities, that they may contribute to your greater glory, and that all what we do may contribute to our sanctification through Christ our Lord. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father. Today we have Officer Carver here with Cheesy, a brown and black Sonoran purebred.
That is correct. This is Cheesy. Cheesy is a wonderful little boy. He's been with us for over a month now. And he's, as Supervisor Valadez stated, what we refer to as a Sonoran purebred, because I really don't know what is all in Cheesy. They had him listed as a healer mix, so I'd go with the generic shepherd mix, kind of. He's full grown. He's not going to get any bigger than this, but he just loves everyone. We went out for a walk today behind our facility over to the park, and he just was thrilled. He knows a couple of things. We'll see if we can get him to perform on cue. Cheesy, very good. Didn't even have to tell you. We were working on shaking hands, but he hasn't gotten that yet. But he's very treat-oriented, obviously, which means that he is very trainable for a variety of things. He takes treats very gently, and I think he would just be a wonderful addition to anyone's household. Great with a family. He's probably a little active for an apartment life, but a great family dog. We came across strangers at the park there, and he introduced himself, and he's just a very loving, friendly dog. And due to the amount of time he's been with us, He is available for the cost of the license only. $15, and that covers his neutering surgery, rabies vaccination, microchip identification, one free vet visit for a checkup, and he'd just be a great addition to anybody's household. Thank you.
Supervisor Elias.
Just like a
He's
lunch special of cheesy enchiladas.
There you go.
This dog is available.
You can
at a
change his name to
reasonable price.
Queso.
What's that?
You could change his name to Queso.
We could change his name to Quesito. That way it'd be cheesy, you know what I'm saying? You know that. So those who order the lunch special of enchiladas, please think about adopting Quesito and taking him home. $15, that's a heck of a deal. I don't see anybody out here who's willing to pay that load for somebody who'd like to adopt that dog. Or am I mistaken and not see? I see Jan Lesher looking down, so that'd probably be a good choice right there. How about that, Jan? Would you be willing to do that? That's very generous of you. I appreciate that. So it could be a free dog to a family. Nobody here is available to adopt that dog. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Talk to kids you know and see if they would like to adopt Quesito. And they could change his name. They could do whatever they want. I'm sure he'd be a good friend to have for a family and provide a lot of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Elias. We do have one change to the agenda. I'll read that now. It's on the regular agenda, page 5, item 22, Forensic Science Center fee schedule. Staff requests this item be continued to the Board of Supervisors meeting of December 3rd, 2013. Without objection, those will be the only changes to the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards for call the public? I don't have any speaker cards for someone to do call the public on an executive session item only. That being the case, Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, we have a
Supervisor Elias.
proclamation that we were going to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. On addendum item number 1.
Right. I'll move the item, sir.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 1 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Ms. Fairbanks, if you could please come up. And Supervisor Elias.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hold it. Okay, we have this great proclamation, which I'm going to read in a second. But before I do that, I just wanted to make sure that we thank the voters of Pima County this morning, because in 2006, the voters of Pima County approved bonds to build a crisis response center and a behavioral health pavilion down at the Keno campus, and it has made a difference in many, many families' lives. And that's a very difficult business to transact, but we do that with a great deal of dignity, and I think that the voters overwhelmingly supporting that item back in 2006 really speaks to the good, intelligent nature of Pima County's voters, and so this morning I wanted to applaud them before I read this proclamation. Whereas serious mental illness, such as major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, obsessive-compulsive disorder, severe anxiety disorders, borderline personality disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorders affect 1 in every 5 families. Whereas serious mental illness is a highly treatable medical illness of the brain, posing the same concern as cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and other illnesses. And whereas scientific research is working vigorously toward breakthroughs in the understanding of mental illness, resulting in more effective treatments that allow people to reclaim full and productive lives. And whereas serious misunderstandings still exist about mental illness and social culture often wrongly imposes a stigma on mental illness. And whereas every citizen and community can make a difference in helping to improve the lives of individuals and families affected by mental illness, now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims October 6, 2013 through October 12, 2013 to be Mental Illness Awareness Week in Pima County to increase public awareness of mental illness and to promote its treatment and recovery. Passed and adopted this first day of October 2013. Would you like to say a few words, Lado? Please.
I am a board member of the National Alliance for Mental Illness of Southern Arizona, and we are doing a kickoff to Mental Illness Awareness Week on Sunday, October 6th. We are going to start with a news conference, so if any media is here, you will be receiving news releases, but by all means, please come out and support that. But also, I would like to invite the Pima County Board of Supervisors and their staff to attend the movie of Two Minds, which will be showing at the Loft Theater immediately following the news conference. It is a movie about people who live with bipolar disorder, and it's also a movie that shows that there is hope and recovery for mental illness. So anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I appreciate the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you, Lado.
Thank you, Supervisor Lewis. Congratulations, Ms. Fairbanks. Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, sir.
Second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We will return at the sound of the gavel. Call this meeting back to order. We had 2 items on the executive session calendar. Council.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, executive session item 6 on the regular agenda concerns Reed Park Zoological Society versus Pima County. This is case number ST 2011-8701 in the Superior Court of the State of Arizona. This litigation involves a 725.24 acre parcel located at 17,000 South Mission Road in Pima County. This is for the tax year 2012. During the discovery, the litigation of this matter, plaintiff produced documentation sufficient to demonstrate that the property has been in continuous use for agriculture within the definition of the controlling statute since 2011. Based on the foregoing, the assessor is willing to recommend reduced values, both full cash value and limited value, as on the property. The proposed settlement, therefore, would result in an estimated tax decrease of $10,135.19 for the 2012 tax year and $11,463.53 for tax years 2013 and 2014, respectively. The assessor and county attorney recommend this proposed settlement.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move the assessor and the county attorney's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to move to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote, 3 to 1, motion carries. Council.
Yes, turning to the addendum agenda, executive session item number 3 on the addendum agenda concerns a request by the Pima County Attorney's Office Civil Division that the board waive a potential conflict of interest to allow attorneys in that office, that would be my office, to advise and represent Assessor Bill Staples in proceedings concerning the tax classification of Raytheon Company's IPRs. As with all waivers of this nature, the matter is entirely within the discretion of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
move to waive the conflict.
Second. All those in favor of the motion to waive the conflict, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
No.
By a vote of 2 to 2, the item gets continued to the following board meeting, which will be October 8th.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'd ask for a moment of personal privilege, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment this morning before we get into Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session or the other boards that we sit as, flood control, et cetera. Because this is the first meeting that we've had in the month of October, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so this is an opportunity for all of us to think about our friends and loved ones who have died from this disease, and for those brave folks who are survivors. And this is the month that we have to honor them and be aware of them, and particularly think of those who are genetically disposed to breast cancer and the difficult decisions that they face in their lives and their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. This is a serious matter, but it's something that every single person in this room can join together in supporting. This is something that does not have to divide us in any way, shape, or form. So I ask you to remember those who have passed, and I ask you to respect and honor those survivors and those folks who have to make very tough decisions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Elias. Any other points? All right, hearing none, we're going back to the regular agenda. Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board, item number 7 and 8.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move items 7 and 8.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 7 and 8 on the regular agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Library District Board, item 9 and 10.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move items 9 and 10.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 9 and 10. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Moving on to consent calendar. Is anyone here? Do you have any cards? I don't have any cards for anyone wishing to speak. Call the public on a consent calendar item only.
Thank you,
What's
Mr. Chairman. Are there any members of the board who'd be interested in removing an item from the consent calendar so it could be voted on separately?
I don't believe so, sir.
Thank you very much. In consideration of that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move consent in its entirety.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve consent in its entirety. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 13. Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that a video is going to be played. That's what I was told yesterday
Okay.
by the
Unfinished
attorney's office,
business.
that they wanted to play the video from the meeting.
Okay.
Big popcorn.
Well, that's a great picture.
Handsome gentleman, I would agree with that, sir.
Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Consent calendar. I do not have any cards to speak on a consent calendar item only. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board on a consent calendar item? Hearing none, what's the will of the board
Mr.
on the
Chairman?
consent calendar? Supervisor Elias.
I'll move consent as written.
Second. Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I'd like to pull consent calendar item 1 and vote on that one separately.
Second.
That is the, okay.
Does the maker and a seconder withdraw their motion?
Yes, I will.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
A second motion to separate item 1.
All right, so is there a motion on item number 1 on the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I had a lot of questions about this item. This contract actually commenced in February, and it's just now coming before the board. And that was one question I had for the, I guess, the county administrator. And then I would like to know, what was the process for selecting this individual? What are the qualifications? Was there a competitive bidding process? This is a $40,000 contract for consulting and working on community service type issues. And it is my understanding this individual lives in Phoenix. And we have a lot of organizations working in Pima County, a lot of individuals in Pima County working on this type of work from what I've seen on the various organizations. So I have researched this, and I was wondering if there's any information on, first of all, why is this coming before us when this contract commenced in February?
Ms. Elgebrand?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Atha can answer the questions regarding this contract.
Mr. Arthur?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the fact that the contract is so late is simply a problem with delay in my office and in negotiating the contract with the contractor, and I have no good explanation for that. It's just a problem that I created by not getting to this earlier. As far as this contract, it is a direct select procurement approved by the county administrator. It was not bid competitively. Well, I take that back. Originally there was a yes, there was a bid about 4 years ago for this, but this particular contract is a direct select contract, and it is the individual has particular expertise in some of the areas that my departments work with. He is a former director of workforce training for the Department of Economic Security with a great deal of expertise in the state policies and federal policies regarding Department of Economic Security programs. He's been very useful to us in a number of ways. Most recently, been very useful in dealing with some helping us with some proposed changes by the Department of Economic Security in the overall state administration of the workforce system.
So we don't have an individual here in Pima County that could do this type of work?
Not with the particular unique expertise that this individual has, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
And it is as amended, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, item 5 was,
Item 5 was amended.
Yes.
I don't see it on here.
yeah,
It was a,
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias.
Well, I'm not going to piddle about that because I'll just going to go ahead and move consent agenda as amended.
second,
Motion and a second to approve consent as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 8.
Thank you, Alan.
Are there any questions or comments on the video?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to point out that I did pull that item for separate vote, as we've practiced all year, and per the rules, the way that we've done it all year, if we act in such a way that is not objected to, that is the rule. And I'd also like to point out that the meetings have been revised by the clerk of the board to reflect the other items I had on there, but I would like to go on the record that I feel we did not vote on this contract. It was pulled as a separate item. Richard interrupted me before I could make the motion, and so the motion was never made to vote on this contract, and I'd like to go on the record. I would like to move to approve these meeting minutes as the clerk has amended them, with the following amendment regarding the Gabe Loyola contract, which was item 1 on the consent. I would like to go on the record voting no on this contract.
Is there a second to that motion? If not the motion, there's a second to that motion.
Yeah, I think it's good to second for the sake of discussion.
Now, we have just seen the video, and I have the transcribed version of it here. I had apologized last time we considered this to you, Supervisor Miller, for the confusion, and clearly I've added to it. However, in my defense, throughout this year, when you've pulled something off the consent calendar, I've taken it, you've asked questions, and usually if you don't do something afterwards, and we can show video of that, not today, but certainly in the clerk's office, you usually make the motion at that point, which is why if you look at what happens, I asked for the seconder to withdraw the motion, and I actually asked, all right, so is there a motion on item number 1 on the consent calendar?
Yes, you did, and I would like to just point out on the 9/17 meeting, which is up on my website at 2 hours 4 minutes, I asked you, I have a few comments to make. Do I need to wait for someone to make a motion in a second? And you said no. And I said, okay, because this has changed too. All year long, the rules keep going back and forth. Every meeting, it's a different rule. And this is why I was interrupted before I could make my motion, which was the whole point of wanting to put this back on for a vote. And I don't know why we have fought this so hard. Why is everyone fighting putting this up for a vote?
Ms. Miller, with respect, we disagree on the version, and I think we saw the video, and that is not a correct interpretation.
Okay, everyone can go to my website and look at the video where the rules are different every week.
Okay, so, what's the will of the board?
We have a motion on the floor.
No, oh yeah, we do. I apologize. You're correct. Motion before us is on the approval of the minutes as amended by the clerk and further amended in the manner that Supervisor Miller has stated with her voting minority item.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for clarity's sake, I'm perfectly willing to re-vote on the item regarding this contract if that will clarify matters for Supervisor Miller so she doesn't feel like the ball got moved on her. But rules are made to be fluid, and I think I waited a reasonable amount of time before making an additional motion at that particular meeting to approve consent in its entirety. But short of that, I'm perfectly fine on re-voting on that item if there's a sense from one of our members that it was not handled correctly. Then I think the integrity of the board is far more important than anything, and we should re-vote on the item if that's If that's the will of this board, I'm perfectly fine to go along with that. I just wanted to say that because I think that's an important distinction. Rather than saying we're just playing around with the minutes and accusing each other of not following the proper protocol in this room, it would make sense to me that we assure everybody that the Pima County Board of Supervisors does their business above board.
Is that in the form of a friendly amendment, substitute motion, or just comment?
That's just a comment at this point. If there's support amongst board members to do that, I'm just saying I'm perfectly fine to support that. But I don't want to confuse the issue further, given that we have a motion on the floor that we're about ready to vote on.
I will withdraw my motion, and
Does the seconder agree to withdraw?
I want to see the film again before I, go ahead, roll the film. Thank you.
Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Consent calendar. I do not have any cards to speak on a consent calendar item only. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board on a consent calendar item? Hearing none, what's the will of the board
Mr.
on the
Chairman?
consent calendar? Supervisor Elias.
I'll move consent as written.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I'd like to pull consent calendar item 1 and vote on that one separately.
Second.
That is the,
Okay.
Does the maker and the seconder withdraw their motion?
Yes, I will.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
A second motion to separate item 1.
All right, so is there a motion on item number 1 on the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I had a lot of questions about this item. This contract actually commenced in February and is just now coming before the board. And that was one question I had for the, I guess, the county administrator. And then I would like to know, what was the process for selecting this individual? What are the qualifications? Was there a competitive bidding process? This is a $40,000 contract for consulting and working on community service type issues. And it is my understanding this individual lives in Phoenix. And we have a lot of organizations working in Pima County, a lot of individuals in Pima County working on this type of work from what I've seen on the various organizations. So I have researched this, and I was wondering if there's any information on, first of all, why is this coming before us when this contract commenced in February?
Ms. Zuckerberg?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Atha can answer the questions regarding this contract.
Mr. Atha?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the fact that the contract is so late is simply a problem with delay in my office and in negotiating the contract with the contractor. And I have no good explanation for that. It's just a problem that I created by not getting to this earlier. As far as this contract, it is a direct select procurement approved by the county administrator. It was not bid competitively. Well, I take that back. Originally there was yes, there was a bid about 4 years ago for this, but this particular contract is a direct select contract. And it is, the individual has particular expertise in some of the areas that my departments work with. He is a former director of workforce training for the Department of Economic Security with a great deal of expertise in the state policies and federal policies regarding Department of Economic Security programs. He's been very useful to us in a number of ways. Most recently, been very useful in dealing with some helping us with some proposed changes by the Department of Economic Security in the administration, overall state administration of the workforce system.
So we don't have an individual here in Pima County that could do this type of work?
Not with the particular unique expertise that this individual has, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, yeah, item 5 was,
Item 5 was amended.
Yes.
I don't see it on here.
yeah.
It was a,
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias.
Well, I'm not going to piddle about that because I'll just go ahead and move consent agenda as amended.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve consent as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 8.
Thank you, Alan.
Supervisor Carroll, did you see what you need to say?
Thank you so much for the courtesy of a relook at that, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to say Mr. Atha has done a fabulous job over the years. I trust his judgment. I've been working with Mr. Atha for now at least 17-plus years. I know that there's sometimes housekeeping that's necessary, but Mr. Atha, thank you for the explanation on the contract. I believe I saw what I needed to see. Thank
Do you
you.
withdraw?
I'll go ahead and withdraw my second to Ms. Miller's motion, just to be very clear.
Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we vote on the item, the contract item.
We actually can't legally do that because it's not on the agenda. We can have it placed on the a future agenda.
Okay.
And I need council to rule on the issue of contracts, because at some point we're also going to waive the rules, and we're dealing with an executed contract,
That's
which
correct.
is a level on top of that. Council.
I guess that gets back to my point that this individual was working since February and it wasn't brought before the board until August 19th to vote on. So how was he operating prior to August 19th?
Let me have council, the issue right now is the minutes and the voting on the record. Let me have council address the issue that I posed to him.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you are correct. If anything is to come back as far as a ratification or whatever vote with respect to the contract, that will have to be separately put on a separate agenda going forward. How that goes forward is questionable. What's before the board today is simply, do the minutes accurately reflect what occurred on August the 19th? That is a determination made by this board. If you've had the benefit of a video, you can make that determination or not. That's what's precisely before the board at this time. With respect to the effect of the fact that the board did, or at least a reasonable person could conclude, I'm not making any assessment one way or the other, that's for this board to make, but a reasonable person could assume that a majority of this board supported and voted on that particular contract on August the 19th. That being executed, any attempt to unexecute it or to do something different with respect to that or change the vote with respect to that is going to create a dispute as to whether or not there is in fact an anticipatory breach of that contract at this point. So there is a consequence with respect to that. The other aspect, of course, is procedurally, how does one do this with respect to waiver of the board's rules? We had originally assisted the Supervisor Miller in and the clerk trying to get this on for September the 10th meeting as a reconsideration and a waiver of the board's rules, which would have been a mechanism by which this could have been accomplished with respect to that. The other aspect of this is that if what you're trying to do with a future vote is simply to clarify the board's previous vote on the matter or to ratify its action, since Supervisor Miller has raised a question whether there has been any vote at all with respect to this item. that might be appropriate at that particular time to do it as a ratification or a clarification or both, and put it on for the next board agenda if that's what the choice of the board is.
Council, that was not terribly clear.
Not at all.
Let me follow this up. What we can do today has to deal with the approval of minutes.
That is
Regardless.
correct.
We
That is what
can-
is before the board
We
today.
can move, per, I believe Supervisor Miller's request, to place that item on a future agenda for the purposes of reconsideration. However, at that time, before waiving of the rules and then reconsideration, because our own rules would need to be waived in order to do this. So I've got that part about it. The issue then becomes the issue of an executed contract.
Yes.
How do we place on the board's agenda an executed contract?
We've done that before by
Oh.
way of ratification of the contract.
So what you're talking about is placing it on for ratification, not really for reconsideration.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
That seems to work.
Supervisor Miller?
So is the appropriate form here, I want to get this correct, is that I move to place this Gabe Loyola contract item 1 that was on the consent agenda on the next meeting agenda for ratification of the contract. Is that the correct form?
Council?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, yes, it's as close as I think we can come.
And along with that, is that going to, is ratification going to require a waiving of the rules?
I don't think so, under the circumstances, because there was already, I mean, it depends on what this board does with respect to the minutes. I mean, if in fact there was a vote on the if there was a vote on the matter already, yeah, this is new territory.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and second
Okay, that's what I
Supervisor
was
Miller's motion so we can continue. But I had two requests. One is that Supervisor Miller be more clear about what item we are going to ratify. Please give some citation of the minute
I
of
did.
a meeting or something so we know specifically what we're voting on. And secondarily, I would ask that this item be agendized on a meeting when all 5 members of the Board of Supervisors are going to be here so that we don't have the further confusion of having a tie vote. I think it's important that we move this item to October 15th.
Agreed.
But that's up to the maker of the motion, I believe.
Supervisor
I'll
Miller,
accept that
agree
as
with
a
that.
friendly amendment.
if you'll wait just a moment, I'll get you the item number so we can cite it explicitly from the.
It was item 1 on the consent
it's
agenda,
item
the
1.
Gabe Loyola contract.
From August 19th.
From the August 19th meeting.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Okay, and that still leaves the question, assuming we pass this motion, about what we're doing with these minutes. Or would you?
You want to deal with that now, Supervisor Miller? You can.
We can
Do we want to finish this motion and vote on it and then move to the balance of the minutes, or do we want to combine
All right,
this?
let's go ahead and do that then. Unless council has an objection.
I have no objection.
Okay. All right, the motion before us is on placing the item number 1 on the following meeting. October 15th Board of Supervisors meeting for the purposes of ratification. All those, is that correct, Supervisor Miller?
That's correct.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Now, the underlying question now is, what do we do on the approval of the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the balance of the meeting minutes with exception to this Gabe Loyola contract as the clerk has amended them since the last meeting.
Council, can we do that?
Yes.
Okay. Motion, is there a second?
I'll second for the sake of discussion, but I'm not sure that takes care of the problem of the minutes of the meeting of August 19th. I mean, if you want to change those minutes, then that's fine. but we're not taking care of the problem because her motion was to approve the remainder of the minutes and not approve the section regarding the contract that was item number 1 on consent agenda.
And we just asked the county attorney if that was appropriate to do that, and he
I
said
may have
yes.
misspoke, Ms. Miller. I really apologize. Mr.
Counsel?
Chairman, what is the question before me right now at this point? Is it, what is the motion? I didn't quite get.
The motion before us at this point is on the approval of minutes minus the portion dealing with item 1 on the consent calendar of that meeting.
You can partially approve the minutes, and you can choose to continue the other part if you wish.
Will you accept the friendly amendment to continue the item number 1 then?
Yes, that's what I thought we had done with the first vote, was that we were continuing item number 1. And then I made the separate motion, we did it separately so as not to confuse things, that we approve the balance of the minutes as the clerk has amended them since the last meeting.
Supervisor Elias?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to remove my second from the motion then, because this motion does not deal with the problem that we've created surrounding the minutes. I would say to you that likely we should approve the minutes and approve what happened on that consent agenda item, given that we're going to ratify it on October 15th. It'll essentially make that vote moot, and Ms. Miller will be able to voice her objection at that point to it, and I think that's perfectly appropriate, and I'm fine with that. But I can't continue on in this discussion if we're not taking care of the problem that was agendized for today's meeting.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Is there, the seconder has withdrawn his second. Is there a seconder to the original motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll?
Mr. Chairman, I believe staff work needs to be done here. I contend that this just all needs to be delayed until October 15th so Supervisor Miller can collect the motion that she'd like and her satisfaction, and we move on. Because again, this is an item about the minutes, I thought, not about the contract. And secondly, I'm always willing to give anyone the benefit to reconsider. But at this point, I think it's just getting deeper and darker.
All right, let me
Sharon Bronson will be back, I'm sure, on the 15th. They can all readdress this and get on with a clear vote.
So is there no, I don't hear a second. Is that correct? Okay, it dies for lack of a second. Chair will entertain a motion to continue this item to concurrently with the ratification of item number 1.
I'll move that.
Second. All those in favor, please signify by, and let me restate the motion. This is a continuance of item number 13
Right.
to the meeting of October 15th to be considered concurrent with the ratification of item number 1 on consent calendar of said minutes.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, that cleans it up, and I think that would be the best way to handle this at that meeting. Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 14 and resolution number 2013-86.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Carroll.
I'd like to move item number 14 and resolution number 2013-86, the Pima Prosperity Fund Corporation.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item number 14 and resolution number 2013-86. All those in favor, please signify.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I am following the procedure that was defined last meeting, in that I'm asking my questions now. I have a lot of questions about this item. Does this duplicate the work of the existing local small business incubator type assistance organizations that we have in place already?
Who is the appropriate staff member? Mr. Atha.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we don't believe that it does, but you might ask for comments from the Small Business Commission Chairman, who is here today.
Is there any reason that we're not combining this with existing entities that are already out there? I got a list that there are some existing ones that we have that do these types of loans.
Yeah, I have the chair of the Small Business Commission here. Let me ask him to come up
We
and
have
address both those questions. Please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, my name is Ken Goodman. My address is 4249 North Via Baez Catalinas, and I am chairman of the Pima County Small Business Commission. I do have a statement to make prior to discussion, if that is possible.
Tell you what, we could, but Supervisor Miller has asked some very specific, if you could address the questions, and then we'll let you make your statement when we're ready for
I
speakers.
have several questions.
Okay, so this process has been vetted for over 2 years, and we did have discussions with other groups who seem to have similar programs, but not exactly what we're proposing. So there is a difference.
What is the difference?
And the difference is that this is actual money going towards small businesses that can be used for all kinds of things, not just for infrastructure within their companies, but it could be used for as a credit line. It could be used as cash flow. It's a multifaceted revolving loan fund.
And this is who is going to be running this, or any county employees involved in running this operation?
According to the documents that you have before you, it's very clear in the resolution that there are no Pima County employees involved. There will be a group of very well acquainted with business acumen bankers who will be part of the actual committee who makes decisions on the loans.
And my understanding is this is private sector money only, no public money from Pima County
That's
taxpayers?
correct. There is no public funds here. This is all money that is going to be garnered from local banking institutions within Pima County.
So they're coming from local banking institutions, and I understand there's going to be a revolving line of credit. Who is going to secure that?
It is going to be secured by the bankers that loan the money. There's no, and Mr. Huckleberry vetted this along with the county attorney, making sure that there was no liability by Pima County whatsoever with regards to this revolving loan fund.
Okay, I'm kind of confused about what exactly is the public sector role in this, other than just you are the founder of this Pima Prosperity Fund, but you're going to be in an arm's length from it. Pima County is.
I think it's very important that the Pima County Small Business Commission take an active role in trying to help small businesses in Pima County, and this is one of the ways we're doing it.
To that last question, I think Mr. Huckleberry has a response.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Small Business Commission was appointed by the board basically to facilitate the ease of small business being conducted, and so what they've done over the years is come up with this concept and identified one of the obstacles to the growth of small business is the ability to obtain loans. And because small business is not necessarily the most sophisticated from time to time, I think the commission decided that they become the focal point of the hourglass with regard to small businesses who need loans and the lending community who are out there who are not necessarily connected to small business. So I think it's more of a philosophical connection of Small Business Commission to making this component something that they can offer beneficially to small business.
And in the event of a default on a loan?
There's no public sector involvement in any default. It all comes back to the bankers lending the money.
And I guess they're going to have their own review process in place since it isn't a.
That's correct. There will be a committee of 5, and actually the chairman of the Pima County Small Business Commission. At this point, it would be me, but if it was another member, they would be an ex officio member of this committee to kind of see what's going on, making sure that small businesses are being protected and money is being lent.
Okay, thank you very
necessary.
much for your
You're very
answers.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias,
if everybody's done, I'd like to make a comment.
please proceed, and then I'll move to speakers.
Thank you. Ken, I'd just like to congratulate you and the members of the commission for coming up with something that was good, because when this idea was first floated, I was very critical and careful about not putting us in the line of fire and creating a conflict of interest for public sector employees, making changes to private sector lending for small businesses. You accomplished that, and I think that's really good. One caution I would give you is that as an ex officio member of that committee, that you please be careful about servicing these loans and don't interrupt in the private sector's ability to service these loans appropriately, because that could produce, an aura of impropriety, even though it may not be improper at all. But in the public world, we try and stay away from even perceptions that we've done something incorrectly. But I know I can trust you as a member of the chair, as a chair of the commission, because you've always been a great representative. We used to be neighbors. You represented District 5 at one point in time, and I'm very proud to have you there on our commission. So thank you for your work. I'm prepared to vote in favor of this. Like I said, I'm very pleased that we came up with such a clever solution.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the kind words. But one thing for sure, to address that statement, we're not reinventing the wheel here. This is being done all over the country. And there are members of the small business, either alliances or commissions, that are members of these committees. So it's not something new. It's not just starting here in Pima County. It's been done all over the country, and I think very successfully. And especially now, with sequestration coming, the federal government has been closed down today. Small business, we're shaking in our boots right now. I got to tell you, it's very scary out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have some comments prepared for the board on the item?
Yes, I did. If I may still...
Please.
Okay, great. Chairman Valdez, members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Huckleberry. As Socrates once said, and this has nothing to do with the prior discussion, wisdom is the ability to see afar the distant result of this day's deed. Before you today is an action item relating to the formation of what is now called the Pima Prosperity Fund Corporation. The Pima County Small Business Commission has worked tirelessly for almost 2 years with Pima County staff, with Mr. Huckleberry, and the Pima County's Attorney's Office to get this proposal right. The Vice Chair of our commission, Mr. Tom Ward, has been instrumental in helping to pull all the stakeholders together, as well as garnering the technical assistance in helping to create a document that will withstand legal as well as philosophical scrutiny. And he did a tremendous job over the last 2 years. On May 13, 2013, the Small Business Commission submitted its final report on the proposed Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, rechristened the Pima Prosperity Fund, to the County Administrator's Office with a request that it be forwarded to the Pima County Board of Supervisors for approval by resolution. Then, representatives of the Commission met with the Department of Economic Development and Tourism and the County's Attorney's Office on May 28th. The result of that meeting led to minor modifications of the proposal that ensured the county would have no obligations regarding who was awarded a loan and no liability associated with loans that go into default. With these modifications implemented, the county administrator has recommended approval for this proposal. While no public monies are involved in the Pima Prosperity Fund, it is important that basic conditions for obtaining a loan be enforced to ensure that the public purposes of job creation and retention and tax base expansion are met. In the Commission's opinion, Pima County is still feeling the effects of the Great Recession. No matter what Wall Street says, the recession is still evident in large parts of this country and our county. Also, we have seen in recent reports, as I related earlier, sequestration is about to make things even more difficult for small businesses, and today's shutdown of the federal government is potentially disastrous. Small business people that I talk to say that they are still battling the banks to secure credit. This bold move at least tries to mitigate the hardships still felt by Pima County small businesses. Therefore, your positive decision today regarding this proposal will indeed, as Socrates so succinctly stated, prove that your wisdom today in approving the Pima Prosperity Fund will have such a positive outcome that we will not have to wait for a distant result, for we will see the rewards of this program much sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Carroll.
I move the item, resolution number 2013-86 for consideration.
Motion and a
Approval.
second to approve item number 14 and resolution number 2013-86. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Moving on to item number 15.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Ray.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I've spoken to members from the Sheriff's Department that are here. I'd like to approve the asset sale pursuant to ARS 11-251-9 regarding the sale of a Cessna T-210 aircraft that no longer meets the needs of the department.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 15. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number, or hearings, Board of Supervisors unfinished business. Item number 16, appeal of a review officer's decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Leos.
yesterday Mr. Mena arrived at our office and said that he had a voter ID card for his daughter for this residence, which would make this point moot, and then the appeal would be left aside without decision. I do not see him in the audience here today. I suggest that we continue this item for a week to give him the opportunity to come in and bring that documentation. I don't know what happened to him this morning, but I'd like to give my constituent that forbearance if we could.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second to continue the item to the Board of Supervisors meeting of October 8th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to franchise license permits, items 17 through 20.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Leos.
do you have any speaker cards for any of these items?
No, we do not.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and move to close the public hearing and approve items 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 17, 18, 19, and 20, and to close the public hearings. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 21, staff report. What do we got?
Mr. Chairman and
Mr.
members.
Whitaker.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This item concerns an appeal by Borderland Construction of a protest dismissal on solicitation number 103853 for the McGee Road improvements. Borderland's protest and appeal focused primarily on what they claim to be an incomplete list of subcontractors submitted by the apparent low bidder Select Development. The solicitation does state that the county reserves the right to reject any bid based on submission of an incomplete list of subcontractors prior to award. However, the procurement department contacted Select and they advised that they were licensed to self-perform all remaining work. Select had identified 3 subcontractors on their list amounting to 9% of the total bid amount. 2 other respondents also submitted lists of subcontractors they intended to use, also amounting to 9% of their bid amounts. Absent any significant inconsistency among these bidders, we found no adequate factual basis to support a determination that Borderland's list was incomplete and their bid non-responsive. The language in our solicitation that requires a bidder to submit a list of subcontractors intended to be used on construction jobs stems from concerns about bid shopping which arose over 5 years ago. Since that time, we have not had any similar protests. Further, the Department of Transportation advises that they are unaware of any complaints from subcontractors regarding bid shopping. Our solicitation language also provides that after award, a contractor may substitute or add subcontractors with the approval of the county. This is managed by the administering department, and it is our understanding that the project manager typically approves such requests unless they involve DBE or SBE subcontractors. Both the protest and appeal are based on unsupported allegations. We have not been able to find sufficient factual information supporting Borderland's protest and appeal to conclude that Select's bid is non-responsive. Additionally, if the board sustains Borderland's appeal, it will be necessary to fully document the basis for the decision in order to obtain Federal Highway Administration review and approval before award may be made to the second low bidder. FHWA may refuse to concur in the board's determination, may allow the decision but refuse to pay the difference between the low and second low bids, or may concur. This concludes staff's report.
Yeah, George, when you were doing your investigation, did you actually see those licenses that would allow the company who won this bid to conduct all those aspects of work that they claim they're going to do?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, no, we didn't.
You just
look
took their word?
specifically. Yes.
That's interesting, because you wouldn't do that before. Thank
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
I have a few questions for Mr. Whittegris. I was reading in this documentation, and you said that you don't have any reports of any, you've used this select to do other projects for Pima County, and you don't have any issues with bid shopping, and you haven't had any reports. Is there an audit process in place that you utilize to ensure that bid shopping doesn't occur? And also, is that required if they do switch? I recognize there are opportunities to switch to different subcontractors if they get permission from Pima County. Is that documented in writing? Is there a way to go back and look at these contracts that have been performed? Or did they use the original list of subcontractors? If we went and looked at the payments, were they made to that actual list, or do we have documentation showing if they weren't, that they were in fact approved by Pima County? And what actually constitutes bid shopping in the eyes of Pima County? Is there a percentage of the contract that the subcontractors that would have to be changed that you would consider it bid shopping? How do you define that?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, I don't know that there's a specific percentage that would be used to determine whether bid shopping occurs or not. You know, we were faced with placing some language into our solicitations, as I said, over 5 years ago because of the perception that that did occur. You hear varying discussions regarding what constitutes bid shopping. Oftentimes, I think we perceive that to be the prime contractor actually playing one sub against another towards reducing their cost basis. But at the same time, I think it would be quite possible for subcontractors to actually approach the primes in an effort to gain business when they know certain prices have already been obtained. So to say that we perform an audit on an ongoing basis to make that determination, no. We have done some checking as recently through the Department of Transportation, and they advised that they are aware of no changes in subcontractors used that were provided on the list with the bid submittals to the awarded contractors.
And on those previous contracts, did they use such a low number of subcontractors, like 3 subcontractors on the projects? Or did they have a larger list? Do you know?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, yeah, it varies all over the place. I think in their previous 2 contracts, they were a larger number of subcontractors used. And this can vary a lot. I mean, even you know, when the subcontractors lists are submitted, there are so many variables associated with a job, especially a job that lasts over a longer period of time. Were the subcontractors they listed, are they now busy? Are they still in business? Have their basis changed that disallows them to be used? There's just a whole host of reasons. And that is why we have just turned that over to the administrating departments for them to manage, because it's not something that procurement would be able to actually do an adequate job on.
Okay. So there is, I guess just to make it clear in my mind, there is no formal process for auditing and ensuring bid shopping. There is no bid shopping. So if there really is no definition of bid shopping anywhere, so that's a subjective item.
That is correct. The language that we inserted into the solicitations, again, was done a number of years ago to answer what we understood was a concern. There is no code requirement, policy, or procedure that details or provides authorization to place any specific limits or controls on that activity or perceived activity.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Is the appellant here? The appellant is... Are you the appellant? Okay, and your name would be? Thought that's who you were. Please come up, and I'll let you speak first, and then I have a few other speaker cards. Please identify yourself for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Steve Shepard.
Closer to the mic, please.
I'm sorry. Steve Shepard with Borderland Construction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Huckleberry. I think this all gets down to just a couple of points, and it's what's in the letters. Pima County states in all their bid documents that all the subcontractors must be listed. The reason they do that is they don't promote bid shopping. We understand that. That's why we list all of our subcontractors and why we follow those rules. We don't believe that Select's bid reflected all of their subcontractors. We listed a total of 18. They listed 3. I can't presume to say that they couldn't possibly self-contract all that other work, but I don't believe that they're going to. And I believe that this should be a non-responsive bid based on the lack of the subcontractors list. If Pima County does decide to award it, I would suggest that they make the other contractors self-perform all of the subcontracted work that wasn't listed. If not, I believe the county would be setting a precedence. Going back to what Supervisor Elias said earlier, rules are made for a reason. They're meant to be followed. I think that you guys have these rules so we can follow them, but I don't believe that all of the other contractors in town are following the rules like they should be.
All right, is there any questions for the appellant from the board? Supervisor Miller.
I guess my understanding was from Mr. Whittegris, there is in fact no code requirement in Pima County for this bid shopping, so it is a subjective determination. So there is no requirement for that. Is that correct, Mr. Whittegris?
Mr. Whittegris?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, yes, I am not aware of any specific authority.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. We have a couple more speakers on the item. Mr. Morgan North. Okay, thank you. Jim Coolish. Please identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name's Jim Coolish, President of the Alliance of Construction Trades. My address is 2163 North Northway, Tucson. We are the Subcontractors Association Material Suppliers for 27 years in Tucson. I'd come to tell you that, first, I thank you. This is my first time I ever come before the Board of Supervisors on any type of business for subcontractors. You've run your department's procurement process perfectly. You instituted bid listing. Bid listing is one of the major things that eliminates bid shopping. When bid shopping happens, you, the owner, loses, and the subcontractors, the material suppliers, and the community lose because the general contractors go out afterwards and lower the prices and pocket the monies. On this particular job, and by the way, on bid shopping, because of your example and bid listing, I was able 5 years ago to have the city of Tucson pass bid listing on all their documents, listing subcontractors on theirs. And you were the prime example for me to help get that done over there. On this project here, Select listed 3 subcontractors. Borderland listed 18 trades on their bid list. If Select is going to go out and perform on 15 different areas of the project, that means that they're going to hire crews. They're going to hire foremen to oversee the crews. They're going to pay taxes, workman's compensation, things that general contractors don't do because they have subcontractors that do it. They're going to have to make payroll every Friday on all those various trades. Select in this town One area on the bid listing, Borderland has for traffic controls, $209,000. I'm a bit familiar with that. That's not just setting up barricades, but the traffic control people, the companies that do that, go through a software process on the project to make sure where they're moving it, how they're moving it, what they're going to do. Select's now going to go out and buy barricades, buy crews to move barricades and do the software program. I don't believe that's true. I believe they'll go out and shop it on the street and get a barricade company to do the traffic control. Select Development is doing one of your projects right now up in Canoa. I have a member, a small company, been in business, Tucson company for over 25, 30 years, husband and wife, excavators. They have already filed a lawsuit over $100,000 against Select. They have filed against their bond against Select. I have another member that I went up to their construction trailer to listen about the problems that they have. I want you to enforce your rules, and your rules are to list the subcontractors on the job. And there's no way possible, I don't care what anybody says, that they're going to be doing 15 other trades, which they're not capable of doing. So you have your rules, enforce your rules, either
Mr. Coolish,
go to the second bidder
please, Mr.
or
Coolish.
rebid the
Mr.
job.
Coolish, I'm
Yeah.
talking. Please summarize. Don't speak over me in this chamber.
I
okay?
apologize.
Please summarize.
Pardon?
Please summarize.
I'm sorry, I'm hard.
Please summarize.
Well, in the summarization of it, either you disallow Select on this bid, go to the second bidder on the job, or you decide to rebid the project and do by accordingly the rules. It's in all your bid
All right, thank you, Mr.
documents.
Coolish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias.
George, you described a process right now, and I wish you'd describe it again, that a company might go through to add to its subcontractor list.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, when changes to subcontractors list are required or requested by the prime contractor, they contact the project manager to gain concurrence and approval for that change.
Okay. How often does that happen?
I'll have to defer to transportation.
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Elias, happens all the time. And the Department of Transportation on our jobs and our projects, frequently the contractors add and change the subs frequently. So it does happen a lot.
I haven't heard any evidence that indicates to me that we should not believe Select. But I would like to have some evidence of their ability to conduct those subcontracting portions, those jobs of this particular contract that they would typically sub out. You know, you say that you talked to them, George, but that doesn't sound like a very thorough investigation of the matter, to be quite candid with you. And so I'd like to delay this decision until maybe Ms. George could come back with evidence of those licenses to make sure that these gentlemen are in fact able to do the work that they say, and that they just don't come back in and change their sublist.
Let me ask Mr. Huckleberry to respond. He had to respond to that point.
Please, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a couple of things the board can do. One is that in our contract specifications, I think, is where we allow the substitutions for good cause and reason. Now, what you can do, because that's the point of this award, is that you can basically simply say that won't happen, and that, you know, board action and direction can supersede those specifications. And then what you can also do, if you're concerned about licensing, is you can say the award is subject to a select, basically, they're limited to the 3 subcontractors they've listed, and the award is also subject to them producing and demonstrating that they have licenses to do all of the other work they're going to self-perform.
Thank you, Mr. Huckleberry, because I think that that last option would clarify a lot of things for us and put us in a situation where we know that we're adding some extra scrutiny to this issue to make sure that our rules are followed. Because I agree with you, Jim, our rules need to be followed. But we need to have some evidence of that. You know, we can't just attack somebody without having proper evidence related to it. So I don't know if we have another speaker, Mr. Chairman, or whatever, but that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Huckleberry, for that information.
We have two more. Brian Neal, please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Probably speaking on behalf of Select Development.
Okay, so you're speaking for both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, appreciate the opportunity to come up here and defend myself from these non-fact-based allegations. There's not one fact in front of you that, number one, says we are not capable of doing the work. There's not one fact in front of you that says we have ever bid shopped anybody on any project. We've completed county projects. As far as I'm concerned, we have a good reputation, we do good work for the county, and we've never been accused of this. This is simply a fact of the number 2 bidder wanting to get the project. Ultimately, if you go to the sub-bid, the subcontractors list provided by Borderland, yes, we have included 3 subcontractors for 9%. Borderland is saying that that's not enough. We haven't included scopes that they believe that we should have. Well, if you look at their list, they haven't included the scope of concrete curb or paving. Those are big portions of the project. They're not listed on their subcontractors list. According to this gentleman from the subcontractors, a general contractor doesn't have people to do this stuff. He doesn't have payroll. He doesn't have this stuff. So this should all be subcontracted according to what they're saying. So in conclusion, I would just like to say this is a simple fact of the number 2 bidder and not being happy with the results. We've been through the procurement department. They've considered us as the responsive low bidder. We've been through a protest. The director has said we're responsive low bidder. You know, we follow the rules. The rules say supply a subcontractor list. That's what was done. The rule, you know, we went through everything on this, and Borderland doesn't deny that we were responsive in that. The only allegation they can make is that they don't agree with the list that was supplied. So I don't think we're supposed to award in the best interest of the county and in the best interest of the taxpayers. I don't believe that giving it to the number 2 bidder at a cost to the county of $165,000 approximately is in the best interest of the county or the taxpayers. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Are there any other speakers?
No.
No? Mr. Huckleberry, as a former director of transportation and obviously
Thank you, Mr. Neal.
having been during the procurement changes 5 years ago as county administrator, what's your concern or opinion? What conditions would you place on this contract appeal?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board and Supervisor Carroll, I really don't have many concerns. I think obviously the recommendations that's been made is a correct one. I think the issue of whether or not all of a sudden this particular low bidder is going to come in and say, I want 7 more subcontractors, I don't think that's, you know, in the cards. I think what you need to do, and there are reasons for substituting subcontractors. You know, one goes bankrupt, you're going to have to find another one to do the work. And so those are reasonable things. So I think what you could do is I would recommend that you award it, and that if you have concerns about the fact that perhaps after award this contractor is going to come in and want to substitute a bunch of subcontractors, you can limit that. You can have those substitutions come back for your consideration as opposed to the department's. And I think the other thing you can do, if you're concerned about whether they're licensed to do the self-performing work, you can ask them to produce a license as a subject to contract award.
Thank you.
What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias.
I move that we uphold a procurement director's decision and award solicitation number 103853 to the lowest responsive bidder, which was Select Development and Construction, but that any changes to their sublist come back to the Board of Supervisors, and that they show physical evidence of all the licenses required to complete all the facets of work related to solicitation 103853.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing and to uphold the procurement director's decision and to award the contract, however, to make a contingent on the production of licenses for the work that they are to do, as well as any changes to subcontractors come
Subcontractor list.
subcontractor list come to this board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Item number 22 has been continued to the Board of Supervisors December 23rd. We are on the addendum agenda. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Board of Supervisors archive audio and video of Board of Supervisors meetings. Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this item. I put this item on the addendum because we have the video available to all 6,000 Pima County employees via the intranet, so everyone has the capability of coming in and clicking on a specific agenda item to view the discussion and vote on a particular item. This makes it easy for folks to research, find the information they're looking for without having to come down to Pima County, buy a disc, and filter through that. People in this community want to know what's going on in the meetings. Most people have jobs. There's elderly or unable to walk the distance after finding parking due to a disability. It is extremely difficult for folks to get down here to a meeting. Currently, the only way to get this information is to drive down here, struggle to find parking, and then go to the 5th floor and request a disc. This is unacceptable in the age of technology. It's against our green policies, causing folks to further pollute the environment with emissions as they drive down here, wear and tear on the roads, etc. In the name of transparency, we as a board should ensure the public is getting as much information as possible. As you all know, I have been clipping the videos and posting them on my Facebook page and on my website so that folks are able to view particular segments that may be of interest to them. I'm getting an overwhelming response to this. People really want to know what's going on. And I believe allowing sunshine by permitting the public to access to view these meetings is the right thing to do. Denying citizens this right of this community the ability to see their government in action and is against all that makes our country great. I again move to approve addendum item 4, thereby access for public view on demand of the County Board of Supervisor meetings.
Is there a second to the motion? There is no second to the motion. Supervisor Carroll.
Just allowing the room to clear, sir. I think Ms. Miller has made her point and has been clipping, as she says, the minutes of meetings. I'd like to hear from the clerk of the board regarding this. Number one, this is a late item. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that I'd like, as often is the case with an addendum item, I have yet to get responses to. I'd like to go ahead and ask the clerk a couple of questions about what's the current process of assessing archived audio and video, and if there was a request for a disc of one of our meetings, how would that occur? Thank you.
Let me, before I ever address, there was a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, so there's a second. Okay.
That on the floor, and I'd like that question answered. What is the current process of assessing archived audio and video from the county?
Madam Clerk.
Chairman Valadez, Supervisor Carroll, currently the video is available on the intranet only to county staff. DVDs of the video are available from our office, and they're also at the main library, the Joe Valdez Library.
So to get a DVD from your office or from a supervisor's office, someone would need to request that, and you could furnish that?
Yes, sir.
By the U.S. mail or however they'd like to achieve it. Can you forward it to him on the internet?
No, I cannot.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I would just note that those requests happen very irregularly in my office, and when they do, we offer to mail a DVD of that meeting to any constituent who's interested, whether they're from District 5 or any of the other districts in Pima County. Thank you.
Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to state one more time just how we're in the technology age, and if we're not going to make this available, it makes us look bad and not transparent as a board. And it's a simple allowing people to click a link and being able to click on the items that they're interested in versus getting a whole disk and having to filter through that whole disk for the meetings. I think that it's time that we do this. I believe transparency is incredibly important. People no longer trust government. There's a lot of mistrust, as we all know, and there's a reason for that. When we do not allow people to see something, and this is a simple fix, putting this out there on the internet for people to see. And when we continue to keep that internal to county employees only, it further erodes our credibility and and quite frankly, we're not transparent. So that's just my final comment on it. Thank you.
Is there any further comments? If not, I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Mr. Chairman, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, we can. Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Carroll.
No.
Supervisor.
I think there's plenty of access currently. Thank you.
Supervisor Elias.
No.
Supervisor Miller.
Yes.
Chairman Valadez.
No. By your vote of 1 to 3, motion fails. Moving on to item number 5, contract award, health. It's the will of the board. Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to go ahead and move item 5 on the agenda.
Second. Motion before us is on the approval of item number 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Do we have any speaker cards? We do have several speaker cards for call to the public. I'm going to call on Robin Clark. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and County Administrator Huckleberry, my name is Robin Clark. I live at 10750 West Calle Madero in the Barrio Sapo neighborhood. Our neighborhood shares borders with Saguaro National Park West, Tucson Mountain Park, the Bureau of Reclamation's Tucson Wildlife Mitigation Corridor, and the Cap Canal. I am opposed to any I-11 highway bypass route through the Avra Valley because the environmental and community impacts could never be adequately mitigated. Instead, transportation planning efforts should focus on smarter and more sustainable solutions, such as expanding the capacity of existing transportation corridors, including increased use of rail for transporting freight. For example, a double-track rail line is a more economical and practical solution instead of relying on trucking for shipment of goods. Rail moves freight 3 times more efficiently than trucks, while reducing traffic congestion and greenhouse gases. In his opinion piece for the October issue of the Desert Times newspaper, Mr. Huckleberry states, quote, "No matter what you've heard, I'm actually not 100% certain the proposed Interstate 11 corridor should run through the Avra Valley," unquote. I believe this comment to be disingenuous, since all of Mr. Huckleberry's public comments about the Avra Valley route have left no doubt that he favors this route, is actively pushing for it, and is not seriously considering other alternatives. In the same opinion piece, Mr. Huckleberry describes how the impacts of the new highway could be mitigated. However, the Coalition for Sonoran Desert Protection, the Nature Conservancy, and the Pima County Board of Supervisors' own 2007 resolution all conclude that the impacts of such a new highway could not be adequately mitigated. The Bureau of Reclamation manages the 4 1/4 square mile Tucson Mitigation Corridor, wildlife preserve on the east side of Sandario Road near Mile Wide Road. This wildlife preserve was established as mitigation for environmental impacts caused by the construction of the nearby Cap Canal. The proposed highway route needs a 300-foot wide right-of-way here, where currently Sandario Road has an 80-foot right-of-way. This represents a fatal flaw in the proposed highway route because the Bureau of Reclamation and the Arizona Game and Fish Department oppose any encroachment by a new highway adjacent to the TMC. The environmental impacts of the I-11 bypass route extend far beyond the Tucson mitigation corridor. The Nature Conservancy Center for Science and Public Policy has concluded the Avra Valley bypass would negatively impact wildlife and habitat such that any mitigation would be unlikely to offset impacts. Also, the Coalition for Sonoran Desert Protection states the impact of a massive linear feature, such as a new highway, severing important movement area for wildlife, cannot be adequately mitigated off-site. Finally, today I present the board and the county administrator a petition entitled No Interstate 11 Highway Through the Avra Valley. Over 560 people have signed the petition, and more are signing every day. If you think that 560 signers on a petition is just some NIMBY, not in my backyard, opposition, consider the Sierra Club's 3,000 members, Friends of Ironwood Forest, 800 members, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, Arizona Game and Fish, Nature Conservancy, and Saguaro National Park are also opposed, and we're just getting started. Thank you. And I present the petitions to the county clerk.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Next, let me call Jan Anderson. Please come up. What's that? Come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Jan Anderson. I live at 4745 North Old Ranch Road, and I'm here today to speak about the economic contributions to our community of Saguaro National Park, Tucson Mountain Park, and the adjoining area, and the consequences of an I-11 bypass through the Avra Valley. According to Jim Rounds, an economist who spoke at the SRP Economic Forecast in Phoenix in September 2012, population growth is a key driver of Arizona's economy. Why do people visit Tucson as tourists and then move here instead of to some other warm weather community? In her book, Day Trips in Tucson, Pam Haight explains that in a recent poll of Arizona's most visited sites, Saguaro National Park ranked just behind the Grand Canyon in popularity. She also advises visitors the park provides plenty of getaway space. I'm a real estate agent. I sell homes to people from out of town. But I don't just sell homes, I sell Tucson. I sell our culture, I sell our schools, I sell you guys. I sell the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan, good government. And I also sell our natural resources. I talk to them about, have you been to Saguaro National Park West? It's easy to get to. Go to the Desert Museum. It's so beautiful. The views are great. So while it's true that an I-11 bypass through the Avra Valley would not go through the parks, it would encourage development near them. And from urban planning, I've learned that if you build a bypass, they will come. There is no such thing in the long run as a bypass. So the view from west from these parks would be the freeway itself plus new development. The park's viewscapes and their function as getaway places are jeopardized by an I-11 bypass through Avra Valley. I cannot sell a freeway. So in Tucson, since our growth depends on population growth depends on tourism, and tourism depends not exclusively to, but to a great extent on our natural resources, especially Saguaro National Park. The potential economic fallouts on our area caused by an I-11 bypass through Avra Valley could be diminished tourism and resulting growth, fewer leisure and hospitality jobs, and a negative change in the character of our community. By the way, I could sell rail transit to Phoenix or something using the current corridor. And by the way, there's over 5,000 agents in Tucson, and we all have to sell the city as well as houses. So therefore I urge the Pima County Board of Supervisors and our Pima County Administrator, Chuck Huckleberry, who helped with the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan, thank you, to aggressively oppose the construction of the I-11 bypass in the Avra Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Albert Lannon. Please come up, sir. Identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Albert Lannon. I live at 13141 West Camino de Conejo in Picture Rocks, and I represent the Avra Valley Coalition. And I come today as one of the signers of the petition opposing an I-11 highway through the Abra Valley, but also to voice the concerns of two who are not here and could not sign because they are not in the technology age. First is Oscar L. Garcia, whose family has run a cattle ranch in the Abra Valley for twice as long as Arizona has been a state, starting when this land was still Mexico. The other is an 84-year-old gentleman in Abra Valley, Dietrich Wilcox. Mr. Wilcox was forced to move from his home in Maryland when a new highway came through, and forced to move again in California because of a new freeway. And he wants to know now if at the end of his life he is going to be dispossessed once again. There are alternatives. Arizona's Department of Environmental Quality has pointed out that the I-95 corridor and I-8 would make for cleaner air and less congestion than any Tucson area route, and points out the dangers from high winds in the Casa Grande area where Mr. Huckleberry's proposed highway picks up. I provided copies of that letter to you. Also in 2008, ADOT State Engineer Jennifer Toth stated that double-decking 6 miles of I-10 from Ruthroff to I-19 was, quote, technically feasible and would cost $700 to $900 million. Additional research suggests that double-decking would be effective for a shorter distance. I provided you also with the math showing, using ADOT's numbers, that double-decking I-10 would save taxpayers about $2 billion. $2 billion over building a freeway through the Abra Valley. It would save about 2/3 the cost of ruining the Abra Valley. Now, we're curious about a governance question. This Board of Supervisors is, quote, responsible for establishing the policies of the county. The county administrator, quote, reports directly to the board and implements board policy. How then does the county administrator publicly champion an Abra Valley highway in direct opposition to this board's resolution 2007-343, quote, opposes the construction of any new highways in or around the county that have the stated purpose of bypassing the existing Interstate 10 as it is believed that the environmental, historic, archaeological, and urban form impacts could not be adequately mitigated? Or is there something I don't understand? When the administrator is quoted saying, this is a top legislative priority, we want to have the balance of the I-11 corridor in the next authorization, who is the we Mr. Huckleberry is referring to? Did the board change its policy and we all missed it? I'm just wondering. I provided for you also an exchange in print by Mr. Huckleberry and myself summarizing our respective positions. The position of thousands of families in the Abra Valley is simple. Chuck the Huckleberry Highway. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me call on Keith Van Heinigen. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, all. My name is Keith Van Heinigen. I am a Pima County resident, Tucson resident. I am a vocal member of the Tucson Tea Party, and I agree with your previous 3 speakers. There will be no I-11 going through Abra Valley, period. And on to bigger things, like the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Welcome, all my fellow citizens. All the illegal alien invaders, go home. We in Pima County have been upgraded from 8th highest poverty rate in the country to, from 6th. Thanks, wow. What we have is a lot of lack of respect around here, mainly from our government towards our people. Sometimes it's from government officials towards other government officials. In my studies, one thing has popped up, sociopathy. There are 15 major criteria for a sociopath. A lot of people in this room fit all 15 criteria, just like our current president. Our local media is complicit, and they are also corrupt. They don't tell what needs to be told. They have no reason. They have no motivation. They're on your side. Don't worry, I don't blame just Democrats. I blame a lot of people that call themselves Republicans, too. You see, this document, as small as it is, is the legal foundation for our entire country. Article 2, Section 1 tells you how to remove a corrupt or dysfunctional president. Article 5 tells you that 2/3 of your country can change anything. When people have the audacity to say that Obamacare is the law of the land, and we just must accept it, the slavery that it is, I say no, because in 1860, slavery was the law of the land, and we eliminated it. Plain and simple. It's time for we, the people, to let you, our elected representatives, know that you still work for us. And as far as, shall we say, our freedoms go, we're taking them back. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Van Hannigan. Next, I'm going to call Ken Burbank to please come up. Identify yourself for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Huckleberry, thanks for allowing me. I'm Kent Burbank. I am the director of the Pima County Attorney's Office Victim Services Division. I bring greetings on behalf of our County Attorney, Barbara Lawal. I am here to talk about October Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are, as you're aware, domestic violence is a big problem in our community. Our local law enforcement agencies across Pima County respond to over 12,000 domestic violence calls each year. So it is a scourge in our community that needs to be addressed. We are very pleased as part of Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October to be launching a new campaign called Paint Pima Purple. This is a campaign that's done in partnership between the Pima County Attorney's Office and Emerge Center Against Domestic Abuse. It is a simple campaign, but one of the central components of it is engaging employers, and I am very pleased that the county has signed on as an employer in the Paint Pima Purple campaign, and I want to particularly thank the County Administrator Huckleberry for bringing county employees to be able to participate in this campaign. The campaign, as part of the county, I want to thank some of the departments that are helping us do this. We have bumper stickers as part of this campaign in domestic abuse, Paint Pima Purple, that are going to be going on all of the county vehicles. So we've been working with Fleet Services under Mr. Huckleberry's direction, and I want to thank him again. We are working with the health department to get the word out by having brochures and flyers at different events that they are doing, including Tucson Meet Yourself as well as the clinics. We want to thank the health department. The communications department has been very helpful in getting the word out about this. Each of you will be getting a packet of some of these materials, including these stickers and bumper stickers for you to share, put on your own vehicles. They are removable bumper stickers, very important, so you can take them off when the month is over. We are encouraging people to take very simple actions, such as wearing purple throughout the month of October, particularly on October 18th. Yes, nice job. I'm glad to see some audience members are already getting in the spirit along with me. So October 18th is Wear Purple Day. It is also a day where Emerge Center Against Domestic Abuse is collecting items under a Stuff the Bus campaign that they are doing. So we encourage people to support our local domestic violence service organizations. So more information can be found at www.paintpimapurple.org. Thank you very much, and I will leave these if it's okay. There's a copy for the clerk as well as each of the members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burbank. Is there anyone else here who would like to address the board of the call to the public? Seeing none, this meeting stands adjourned.